So you may or may not know that I spent 25 plus years in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And there has been obviously a pretty significant shift in what's going on in the DEI world right now with our current administration. We're seeing all of the federal DEI jobs and contracts going away. The backlash against DEI since 2020 has been pretty significant. And for my part, I actually had two diversity related businesses. And I closed both of those businesses rather quietly, just shut them down because I could tell what was in the air, right? It was an inhospitable environment. Now, I want to direct this primarily at people who have built careers and businesses that are focused on DEI. The work is obviously still needed. Obviously, we need people who have a passion and energy for this work. If you follow me on Medium, I have tons and tons and tons of articles that I've written about DEI practices, its values, various perspectives, et cetera. So there's a treasure trove of information there. I also wrote 3 or 4 diversity related books. 3 of them were bestsellers, and it still remains an important time to do this work. Now, I wanted to make this video specifically because if you were just hit out of the blue with the reality that this particular administration has created much hostility towards DEI practitioners, I just want to reach out and offer you some comfort, offer you some support, some advice, because it can be absolutely devastating. I know that when my 20-year-old company closed, the other company was much newer. I think I opened the second one in 2017, so that one was easier to close. But the 20-year-old company was a kind of a substantial loss that hit me in the feels. However, I was at a point in my career where I was already ready to pivot. The reason that I started 2 additional companies in addition to the 20-year-old company was because I knew that there was going to be life after that particular career. I don't know how any of you fell into it. And I do want to say, for those of you watching who are still with me, this is relevant to everybody because diversity, equity, and inclusion, as much as it is vilified for privileging, one over the other, when we all do well, like when those of us who are the most marginalized do well, we all benefit from it. And one of the things that people are starting to realize now is that white women in particular benefited the absolute most from DEI practices. And some folks would have you think that it really only served Black people or BIPOC people or people with disabilities. Yes, it absolutely helped advance professional trajectories and opportunities for folks who have been underserved and left behind otherwise. But the vast majority of the people who benefited from DEI was actually white women. And so as we see the attack on women and gender nonconforming, trans people, et cetera, we're seeing this expansion, and we're seeing how we are more connected than we're not, because the target demographics who are being privileged at this time remains a smaller number of people when you take the rest of us and you put us in a large group of folks who are being excluded in some of the same ways, and for some of us in new and different ways. But this information is relevant to everyone because sometimes life doles you a difficult hand. Sometimes you are faced with circumstances out of your control. And if you have invested a substantial amount of time and energy in any given career, job, project, focus, passion, whatever it is, when the cards fall and they land in a way that seems unpleasant, you have a few choices in front of you, right? So the immediate after effect tends to be a little bit of shock, right? Shock, disappointment, sadness, depression. It is normal. Allow yourself to grieve whatever it is that you've lost. Allow yourself to feel what it is that you're feeling. Your feelings are valid, and we need to allow our feelings to move through us in order for us to grow and move to the next place. After you deal with the initial loss, you've got to make decisions about where you're going to go from there. And we will not be defeated. Okay, like we do not wave the white flag and give up. There are pivots that are possible, right? What I want you to do is think about how can you adjust your work. How can you adjust your focus in a way that allows you to continue to support yourself and your family, the people you care about, and still live into the mission that you had? There are plenty of opportunities to continue to do meaningful work that supports, lifting up the oppressed. Okay, so you can find those opportunities. This is also an opportunity for you to go back into your diary, your journal, the annals of your mind, and think about what are the options, what are the passions, what are the pursuits that maybe you left behind, what are the things that definitely really speak to your soul, right? I kind of tripped into diversity, equity, and inclusion because my mom was a trailblazer in the field, and she kind of taught me how to do the things, and I combined a bunch of different skill sets and was able to make a beautiful career out of it, and it was so impactful. Like, I was able to affect change all over the world and do some really amazing things, and I wouldn't change that for the world. However, when I was a child, I did not dream of being a diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner. When I was a child, I was thinking about art. I was thinking about acting, theater, movies, television, different forms of healing. My first major in college was, I think it was biology and pre med. I wanted to be a clinician, but I don't really like blood and pain. So when I realized I had to do anatomy and stab people with needles, I backed out of that. But now, in this season where I have closed two of my three companies, and I've had the opportunity to kind of reevaluate and take inventory, I'm at a stage, like, I had always planned to have a soft retirement at 50. So the slowdown was welcome. I was at a go, 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 go pace for a really long time. And frankly, I was exhausted. Like many of us in DEI, I was burnt out. I was burnt out, but the headline for closing my DEI company was, "You can't tell the universe that you're burnt out and you're kind of sick of something and then be mad about how it gets taken away." Right. So for me, my company was, we were making millions of dollars. Okay. And when you're doing something that is throwing off that kind of cash, it's hard to close it down. And why would you? So I really got to the point where I wasn't really working in the company as much. And I had an amazing team of skilled people who were really making it happen as I was beginning to nurture some of these other passions and pursuits. So I'm going to invite you and challenge you to think about what are some of the other things that you would do, and the questions. And if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you might have seen me ask you, what would you do if you could not fail? How would you spend your time if you knew that you were going to be successful? And if money were not an object, that's a key one, right? Because especially if you've lost your clients, if your company is not making as much money, you immediately go into, potentially, depending on your financial situation, but you could go into financial crisis and be like, oh my gosh, first priority, I have to make money. During this brief intermission, this pause, this forced change, I want you to think about what you would do, how you would spend your time if money were not an issue, right? And what would really make your heart sing? Because I firmly believe that nothing happens to us, it all happens for us. But it's a matter of how you integrate that information, how you process that information, and what you make of the situation, right? You know, things are going to happen, good, bad, ugly, and everything in between. It's all going to happen. It is how we respond that is the testament to our own character, right? To our strength, to our resilience, to the lessons that we have successfully integrated in the past. So take this moment to do an inventory and think about what you really want to be doing. Because at this juncture in human history, no one should be doing things that they don't really want to be doing. Work is too hard. You've got to sacrifice too much and spend time potentially away from those that you love and away from, your home or wherever it is that you love in order to make that living. You better enjoy the living snot out of it. All right. That's my personal philosophy. So during this transition, and it's interesting, I'm going to take an astrological detour here. Nobody told me about nodal reversals. I closed two companies during my nodal reversal, right? My north node is in Libra, my south node is in Aries, and we just had the nodes switch into Pisces and Virgo. And so the past 18 months, which is the time during which I closed everything, was my nodal reversal. And your nodal reversal kind of speaks to course correcting your life and making sure that you are on your path, that you're doing what you came here to do. And so it's just, I didn't know about that until now, literally. I don't know, like today, a week ago. I found out about it a week ago, and I did the research today, and I was like, well, That makes sense. That makes sense. This had to happen because I have, over the years, I have collected a number of certificates, right? I'm a 200-hour yoga teacher. I have a Reiki certificate. I am a death doula. I'm also certified as a birth doula, but I focus on the death doula side of things. I'm now a sound healing practitioner offering sound healing. And I've been traveling the world since I was a kid because I was an army brat. And I love travel. I travel all the time. Love it, love it, love it. And I have now re-engineered my life in such a way that I'm going to be offering destination retreats, wellness retreats, because my focus, I went from, purely diversity to realizing that no matter who my clients were, no matter where I went, no matter what I saw, particularly in this country, way too many people are sacrificing the joy of their lives in order to eat, in order to work. And a focus on wellness for me, and I honestly think that wellness is an incredible pivot for those of us in DEI. Can you find some aspect of DEI that you can relate back to how we take care of ourselves, like the NAP bishop Trisha Hersey's sort of philosophy ministry about rest and how sacred it is and how important it is for us to take care of ourselves. If you can rest during this period, if you got a severance package or you have some savings, take that time to take that sacred rest, because in that rest you can recalibrate your entire life. And my challenge, my invitation, I beg of you to recalibrate your life towards your own sense of joy, fulfillment, passion, pleasure, where, if that intersects in a way that helps and heals the world, awesome. Bonus points, bonus points, bonus points. But the reality is, and part of the kind of delusion that has been, the bill of goods that we have been sold, is that productivity is your value. And honestly, in this day and age, it is important for us to maintain our joy. It is important for us to live into our gifts. You were given those gifts for a reason. And whether or not those gifts feel like they save the whole world or have deep, meaningful value to anyone else, when you are creating art, when you are living into your passion, when you are doing something that fills up your soul, lights up your soul, and it's essentially just adding a light to the world. I have a post where I talked about being energetic lighthouses. It is important for us to care for ourselves in such a way that we are living as gently as we can, that we are doing our internal work. This is also a really big time for doing your internal work, right? Doing the shadow work, doing your inner child work, getting access to that therapy if you can. It is very important that we do that work so that we can show up as our best selves, take incredibly good care of ourselves. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can take of the people around you, the better friend you can be, the better, parent, child, whatever it is. So I'm inviting you to recalibrate your life towards your own well-being, towards joy. How we're going to survive this administration and the changes that are coming is that we're going to have to take deep care of ourselves and build really strong bonds in community. Be really, get close to your people, check on how they're doing, see if there are ways for you to collaborate. But this is an opportunity if you allow it to be. Sure, it's devastating. Sure, it sucks. And again, one of the ways that this talk applies to everyone is lots of people are shifting their jobs. Anybody can get laid off at any time. The times when my career trajectory or my clients, people get fired, different things happen, and they come in for coaching and they're like, oh my God, what do I do? It's like, oh, congratulations, you got fired. Awesome. Now we can go up from here. There's no way up, no way up, there's nowhere to go but up, right? Is what I'm trying to say. And so it is an opportunity if you allow it to be an opportunity. Take the reset, right? Rethink everything and rebuild a life that really works for you. But just like, when I started working in diversity like 25 years ago, it was not a popular topic. Not a lot of people were doing it. Nobody had any idea what I was talking about. And over the past, 20 odd years, people came to diversity, equity, and inclusion work from all kinds of different competencies. I mean, people came in, they were lawyers, people came in from marketing, from sales, from all kinds of different places. It didn't matter. As long as you had the mission of bringing us all together and creating equitable opportunities, you could enter from anywhere. It was only in the last several years that we started to see college majors that really had anything directly to do with diversity or explicitly said that, outside of like women's studies and gender studies and, African American studies, et cetera. There wasn't a comprehensive way to become a DEI practitioner. So guess what? We just all figured it out. We all figured it out. And now that the tide is shifting, and it'll come back, give it 4 years or so, right, or less. It will shift, and those of us who have those competencies and have added to them in meaningful ways will find ourselves in a position to lead in that space. So to the extent that you still have the energy to do the work, write about it, right? Blog about it, do whatever you can to keep the messages going, but take this time to create a new career for you, just like we created diversity careers out of a need and out of thin air. You have the invitation, you have the opportunity now to create whatever it is that you want. If you need any support with your manifestation, I am a international coaching community certified coach. I help people with manifestation coaching, among other things. I also read tarot, something that was just a fun, beautiful habit. I went way down the rabbit hole, and one of my mentors finally said, you have to start reading for other people now, right? So I'm channeling messages, I'm reading tarot for people, and it is absolutely exhilarating. I'm getting to help people on a more individual basis, and it's incredibly rewarding. So take the invitation to recalibrate in the direction that you want to, and make sure that you're following me everywhere. I'm migrating mostly to YouTube and Substack. I'll still be on the other platforms for a while. We'll see what happens there. But my first destination retreat to Bali will be announced soon. And if you're interested in coming, just let me know. Look out for those messages. Make sure you're signed up for my newsletter from my website, tiffanyjana.com. Take good care of yourself. This is an opportunity.